Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition episode of the AI Educator from EdSafe AI. I'm your host, Andrea Claver, and in this episode, we're highlighting AI enthusiasts from our Policy Lab network to not only answer three questions, but also share a snippet of their work implementing safe AI policies and practices within their state. Today, we are joined by a phenomenal team from Missouri made up of Michael Corcoran, Assistant Director of Computer Science at the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Jayme Pingrey, Library and Media Coordinator at Columbia Public Schools, Lauren Hayes, Associate Professor of Instructional Technology at the University of Central Missouri, and Charlene Atkins, Professor of Mathematics Education at University of Central Missouri. This team's been working this year representing Missouri DESE and our state policy lab cohort. So thank you all so much for your participation this year and for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
I'll start us off with a question for Michael, who was our primary person that applied for the Policy Lab network. So, Michael, can you set some context for our listeners? Tell us about your work at the department and why you decided to apply for the Policy Lab network.
Okay. My work here at the state kind of spans between policy and practice. We have developed the artificial intelligence guidance for LEAs, which all these members were part of that, a very important part. We've also developed the computer science model for K through 12 LEAs, and we continue to enhance teacher professional development in computer science and artificial intelligence. I often tell people that I work at enhancing and sustaining computer science education and AI in the state of Missouri. The reason why I applied to EdSafe AI Policy Lab because it offered like a structured national community of practice and support. And anytime I can have opportunity to work with experienced group of individuals, I'm going to quickly take that opportunity.
Awesome. So, Michael, you brought this fantastic team here with you to participate in this work. I'm going to turn it over to Jayme here. Jayme, could you tell us about your role, what you do professionally, and how you got involved in this work?
Yeah, so I actually started working with Michael last year when I was still a library media specialist with Columbia Public Schools. So I was in a building working with high school students and teachers. And I transitioned to the library media coordinator role for our district. So I coordinate all K-12 libraries in our district. And really, a lot of my interest in this is not only working with students, but making sure that staff have the information that they need to move forward in not only their instruction, but also helping kids navigate this kind of new world of ubiquitous AI.
Wonderful. And Jayme, in your role as media specialist, I'm sure you get called on a lot to do this type of work and make sure staff and students are ready, correct?
Yes, and that's actually my very first task in this position last summer was to train all 1,800 of our staff members on kind of foundational AI information. So that really complemented the work that I was doing with DESE and our policy lab.
Great. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren and Charlene, who are both from the higher education field. So, Lauren, starting with you, how did you get involved in this work?
Yeah, so as Michael said, I have been part of the Computer Science Advisory Council with DESE for a few years. And as part of that work, we were looking at computer science standards and AI guidance for the state. And while I work at a higher education institution, I really do feel like my role, because of the students I primarily serve in this role, are often in-service teachers, some pre-service teachers too. I really span K-12 and higher ed, which is a really fun place to be. And just with the growth, the rapid growth of AI over the last few years, it really became apparent that we need to be more involved in the work that the state's doing, that individual districts are doing, and we're really looking just to find those ways to expand and really kind of be on the ground with those working in the schools because ultimately that's who we're all supporting, right? Students' growth.
And it's fantastic to have you on the team that just has such a wide lens there. What a great place for you to be in, where you do get to see K-12 and you get to see that higher education lens. Wonderful. Charlene, I'm going to pass it over to you. How did you get to be part of this team?
Well, actually, my experience is very similar to Lauren's. My involvement, I think, comes from kind of the intersection between my state level work on the Computer Science Advisory Council and also a personal mission. I see excitement, but also anxiety in our practicing educators who I work with, also in-service teachers in K-12 districts. I think that educators saw this as a new tool, but I think anytime we get a new tool, we also kind of need a compass for using that tool. And I wanted to be a part of the policy hub, kind of out of a desire to help educators maybe effectively and practically, but also ethically navigate AI integration so that they feel supported and not so overwhelmed.
Thank you, Charlene. So, Michael, passing it back over here, as we can tell, you have members that represent, again, the whole spectrum, K-12 through higher ed. Why was it important to you to have all of these voices included in the process?
Well, first of all, they're all volunteers. So they're all part of our council, and then they volunteered for this. For our council, they come in on their own a couple times a year. But it's important to have that K through 12 leaders, higher ed partners, and we also have some industry people in our group. But because of AI literacy ethics and effective classroom use depend on a coordination across educational pipeline. So having them really helps when we address teacher prep, district implementation, and ongoing professional development. They also help us kind of vet anything that we put out. They were very much part of the AI guidance. Any document that comes out through me, this group has seen and has reviewed, if not the creators of it themselves. So it's very important to get that whole spectrum of the educational pipeline involved.
Right. And they can really bring that lens of, what's actually practical in the field, because if you are removed from it and don't have those regular touch points in schools, then it can be easy to assume you know what's needed. And really, that might not be the case.
And that's a good point because many times they have brought up things that we're missing that we just don't see here. I've been out of the classroom for a couple of years and they'll bring up those points. And so we can address that.
I think that's a great segue here. Lauren, I'm going to pass it to you here. We're currently working on a resource for LEAs through our policy lab work to support with AI literacy. Why do you think this resource is needed in Missouri?
I think AI literacy is needed everywhere, and particularly Missouri. It's needed because there's just still a lot of questions about how AI impacts education, how it's going to impact the workforce. And I think some of those questions are unknown because we're in the midst of this change occurring. But at the same time, we know that AI is here and it's not going anywhere. And the foundational understanding of it is going to be necessary to use the tool well, no matter what job you move into. And we really just want to help districts think about that well and be strategic and try to be proactive rather than reactive to it.
Wonderful. And I love what you said about it's already here. So we need to be proactive. Jayme, I know you mentioned before in your work, you were tasked in the district in doing some work incorporating AI literacy. How would having a tool like this, where there were maybe some provided resources or suggested topics, how might that have helped you when you were participating this in your district?
Yeah, I definitely would say a year ago, because these resources hadn't really been gathered in a central location, I really was kind of grasping at anything that I could find, and then synthesizing that information in a way that was usable for the education um, landscape and the teachers, admin, district staff that I was working with. So definitely having vetted resources. I was having to educate myself to make sure I was understanding exactly what I was teaching was correct information, especially with how quickly AI continues to evolve and how we define things and how what the tools are actually looking like and how students and staff are interacting with them. I definitely think having like one place to go for um, really some baseline information would have drastically not only cut down my work, but also helped me feel confident in what I was, proposing and creating.
Thanks, Jayme. Charlene, I'm going to have you wrap up this question here. How do you hope this resource will support the field in the state of Missouri?
Well, going off of what Lauren and Jayme both said, I would have said earlier that all of our districts kind of move at a different pace also in implementing some of these things. So Jayme mentioned having a central resource, and I think that's the important part of this is without it, as Jayme mentioned, without it, educators and administrators take on these extra burdens of trying to become an expert overnight, which is very difficult. So I think the Policy Hub provides that framework for them to be able to use a critical lens into looking specifically at data privacy, ethical use, algorithmic bias. So I can't think that it kind of reduces the burden on educators and administrators, regardless of what location or what phase their district is in.
Agreed. And educators already face a lot of burdens. They already take on a lot of extra responsibility. So, as much as we can do to put these types of resources together, the better. So, in the spirit of the AI educator, we always go through our 3 rapid fire questions. So, let's go ahead and dive in. Are you ready?
Ready?
Awesome. So, question 1, I'm going to direct at Michael and Lauren. What's one thing that excites you most about the future of AI in education? We'll start with Michael, then pass it to Lauren.
I think how AI can enhance instruction by supporting teachers and even students themselves, using it for feedback. I know my son, he's in college, he uses it quite often for feedback on his work. So I think, teaching kids how to use it to enhance their learning is an exciting way. And I think all tools can help teachers reclaim time in the building. And so that time can then be used to uh, enhance relationships and engage students in more of a deeper learning.
Lauren?
I see AI as an opportunity for education. I think that the best users of AI, in my opinion, are going to be those that have a strong understanding of it, but also have a strong understanding of the content knowledge that they are working with the AI to obtain or whatever exactly they're trying to do with the tool. But those with strong content knowledge are going to be able to evaluate the output, ask the right questions. So I think if we can have some really good, productive conversations in education around the value of education, the importance of learning, and just how all of that fits together, AI can be a really good opportunity for us to grow education and kind of in some ways even get back to some of the basics, I think, of how we learn and literacy.
All very promising areas there. But as we know with AI, there's often a lot of false information out there. So I'm going to pass it for our next question to Jayme and Charlene. What's the biggest misconception you hear about the safe and responsible use of AI in schools? We'll start with Jayme.
I think to piggyback off Lauren, definitely I hear a lot of teachers and adults very concerned about how AI is preventing our students from engaging in critical thinking and coming up with their own unique ideas and how it's kind of squashing creativity. And I really think that we need to be explicit with our students and educate them on safe and ethical use of AI so that we continue to center the human aspect of learning and teaching and creativity.
Charlene?
Yeah, I agree with Jayme. I think the biggest misconception is that the safest way to handle AI in school is to ban it or to block it on our school networks. But I don't think that's the answer. I think the reality is that blocking it doesn't really keep our students safe. I think it actually creates an equity gap. I think students, some students will still have access somewhere and they'll be learning to use the tools while other students won't have that opportunity. So I agree with Lauren and with Jayme both. I think the safest thing to do is to educate students and help them to learn how to navigate AI critically, ethically, and securely, so we can help them prepare for the world's workforce.
Absolutely. We've seen this happen before with several areas, including social media. So I think we have a real opportunity here to be more proactive this time. Okay, we'll wrap up with a round robin and one of my favorite questions. What's a message you would share with a teacher or a school leader who's feeling overwhelmed by the rapid pace of AI development? Michael?
I would say start small and stay student centered. You don't need to chase all the different tools. Pick one tool, one lesson, enhance that lesson, meet with a colleague, kind of discuss how it went over and see what they do with that tool and just kind of start from there.
I love the human element in there too, having a discussion about it with a colleague. It is really more powerful than we give it credit. Charlene?
I think Michael kind of touched on what I would say. I think I would say, and have probably said, take a deep breath. As Michael said, we don't have to become experts overnight. Technology changes quickly, but strong pedagogical practice doesn't necessarily. And I think it's important that we remember that AI is just a tool, just like the calculator was. It can generate text, but it's not going to mentor our students the way that we do. And I think that the teacher is still very important in making connections and building relationships with students. And I think it's very important that we focus on that, and not worry so much about the tool, but also at the same time be mindful.
Absolutely. It can really enhance the work, but it's never going to replace that human element of it. Jayme?
I would say definitely lean on the people that you have that are already engaging in this work and who are already naturally interested in the information so that they can maybe take the lead or even talk you through some conversations about what are your next steps for your school or your district. And really, I mean, learn from the people around you. And I think that has been one of our greatest growth areas in our district, and that's been very exciting.
Right, if you can kind of center yourself in that appropriate professional learning community where there are others to help guide you, you don't have to be an enthusiast or a trailblazer to get involved and learn about this topic. Absolutely. Lauren, round us out.
I would share that AI doesn't change what we know about teaching and learning. There's a lot of research out there about how we learn as humans, and I would encourage anybody to dig into the science of learning and really spend some time with that literature. And then from there, think about how AI can align with what we know about the science of learning and where it might detract, and be very thoughtful about how to incorporate AI and to use it well.
Again, teachers know how to be good teachers. So stay grounded in that and then find the places where AI can support. Listeners, there you have it. 3 quick questions and a wealth of information from the team of educators representing Missouri DESE. Be on the lookout for their AI literacy guide, which will be posted to aipolicylab.org later this year. And stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll put another AI enthusiast in the hot seat.